Speaking with Gordon Chang, we've learned that there are probably two reasons we've been kept in the dark about the coronavirus. One of them is the Chinese lab leaked it, and the other is that the United States was funding some of that Chinese research. You put those two together, and you've got a lot of guilty people covering up a lot, and that's kept us from knowing what happened. But this became an economic weapon. And Gordon, what did the Chinese do economically once they knew this was leaked and out?
Well, what they did was there was a massive propaganda campaign on lockdowns, and I think that they wanted to do this because they wanted to undercut the economic power of the United States. So it was clear. I mean, we don't even have to guess their motive because they were telling us day in, day out. And really all the other things they did, Kevin, was they then started to say, well, this disease didn't start in China. It was brought to China by the U.S. military. Right. There was that infamous March 12, 2020 tweet from the Foreign Ministry that suggests that the U.S. Army did it. But then in that tweet, which is official, by the way, because it was official Foreign Ministry account, they then said, coronavirus patient zero is in the U.S.
Wow.
So they're saying it definitely started here. And then this year they've carried this through because there's so much propaganda about how this thing probably started in Frederick, Maryland. In other words, Fort Detrick. So this is warfare. This is propaganda warfare, and it's intended to tar us. The other thing they did, which is both economic and political, is that they're saying that because Beijing has handled the coronavirus well, their form of governance is superior to democracy. They make this point all the time about how poorly the U.S. has done in handling coronavirus, and that's a reflection on our form of governance. So this really goes to a core issue, and that is Beijing believes that it will take over the world because communism is better than democracy.
Oh, they're truly communists. There's no doubt about that. They're making that plain every single day, the way they're treating their media celebrities, their billionaires, so-called billionaires and so forth. But they did a step further. I was on the phone with one of the largest suppliers of PPE in the country, and they really did scoop up that personal protection equipment, didn't they?
Well, they did. In that interim early period, December, January 2020, what we saw was China was starting to withhold personal protective equipment. Maria Bartiromo, she said on air on Fox News, Fox Business, that they turned around at least one ship on the high seas that had personal protective equipment heading to New York hospitals. And this during the period in early 2020 when they weren't telling the world what was going on. So that is a sense also. And they were selling masks for $8 a piece and all the rest of it. So there's an economic component to this. And China did very well in exports in the early part of last year. And that was what propelled their economy. I mean, I don't think they had the growth that they reported for last year, but to the extent they had growth, it was exports.
Do they ever have the growth that they report?
Most of the time, no. I mean, there are very limited times when they have underreported growth because it was politically, there was a political gain to do it. But that's like about 2%, 1% of the time. And especially over the last half decade, they've never done that. And the reason is the Chinese economy is slowing down. And that's true right now. And we can see it in a number of different symptoms that don't occur in a period of the growth that they're reporting.
But that doesn't prove the superiority of communism, so they can't let that be seen.
They can't let that out.